Just let me. All right, it's live. It says it's live.
Hey
Yeah.
Sumnesh, great to have you here with us on Network Capital. We always listen to our subscribers, and one of our community members, she said that we must have your views on the crypto space. So here we are. Tell us a bit about how you got interested in the blockchain crypto space, and what's your journey been like so far?
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Firstly, so to be honest, I won't lie and be like, I found the technology really interesting and all that stuff initially. Now that I work there, I now that's the part that drives me. But to be very honest, initially it was about the money. I saw so back in 2016 when I was in college, I saw Bitcoin going from under a couple of $100 to like 2,000, $3,000 was the top that we made that year. I was like, damn dude, this thing goes up like 10x in a year. Our stocks will take age. So I'm from a finance background, so I did a specialization in finance in my graduation also. So I
Hmm.
understood compounding and the rate of returns and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, this thing goes up like 1,000% a year. Our stocks are going up by 15. Like
Hmm.
this either is not going to work, or this is going to be very different from whatever I've seen, right? I was like,
Yeah.
let me get into it and see a bit. So the first thing I did was I just researched what the hell is Bitcoin. And there was not very good content back in the day, but I just knew there's a guy called Satoshi who built this. We don't know who he is, but he or she or a group of people. I was like, fair enough, probably a new experiment. I was like, how much money do I have in my bank account? Can I put 5% of that right there? I was in college, not too much money, a couple of thousand rupees. I bought that, right? And I kept just reading about it whenever I could, right? And
Hmm.
so I stay in Bombay. So and there were a couple of gatherings in a community. So there was a co-working space which hosted somebody who's working on blockchain for a couple of years. It was just a free session. I was like, why not? Like an evening, just no problem. Let's check it out. I went there and then understood that there's a tech behind it. I thought it is just like trading like stocks, but it's not like that,
Hmm.
right? And so on and so forth, and kind of got into that place. Then I started reading more about what are the other projects available, spoke to some people who are doing this, then got an internship into a company which is now one of the biggest crypto exchanges in India. Back then when they started, so I was probably in the first 5, 7 people who joined in,
Hmm.
but kind of that phase where everybody does everything there like that. And that's where I got to learn a lot about how products are getting built and how the wallets operate and stuff like that. Then then I saw money growing rapidly in 2017 because it went from like I think what $1,500 to $20,000. Like shit, like
Hmm. Hmm.
and the thing was now what I do right now is I periodically keep buying crypto. Right, it's like an SIP kind of like that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
back then it was not that easy because back then the products weren't as sophisticated. The effort you had to take to kind of put your money into a crypto wallet to buy Bitcoin was really like too much. You have to visit a
Yeah.
bank, write a check, and stuff like that. I was like, and that's probably why I didn't periodically buy. I just bought those, and that money went up. It did went up crazy, but because the initial amount was really small, that was not kind of like life changing money, right?
Hmm.
And then I was like, if I just bought every month, I would not have to do anything after my college if I did it diligently. But I didn't
Hmm.
just because it was a bit of a pain. And that's when I realized we need products that are kind of like building into this so that people can invest in crypto
Yeah.
easily. And that's
Yeah.
when I got into that place that was that where I interned, and then I started working in this space and all that stuff happened. Now and so I decided that, dude, if I could not periodically invest in crypto back in the day, at least now I should not miss on this, right? I mean, so now I periodically keep buying. I work and then I read
So
about
how do you
how
buy? In India has an interesting relationship with
right.
crypto. So what do you
So
do?
now so right, I got out of college in 2019. After that, I ran a small business of my own till before the pandemic. After which everything kind of like came to a still.
Hmm.
And since then, I'm starting like in the first couple of months, I was like, let me just wait and watch. And then I realized, why should I just like chill around, right? Let me just work a bit. I mean, why not? I have some free
Hmm.
time.
Why not?
And then I
Yeah.
started working with crypto startups and other non-crypto fintechs in India. So right now I work with some of like probably all the top crypto companies here in India. They can be exchanges, they can be these education platforms, they can be one of the biggest and trusted news portals here, crypto news portals here in India. I work with all of them on mainly content and product, which these are the two verticals. I'm learning more about product as we go because I'm curious about how that works, but mostly around content. And then I also work with a couple of neobanks, stuff like that. Like I'm planning to go into that area of like, so majorly right now it's crypto startups, but moving to non-crypto fintechs only into the early stage space. So that's what I do. So to me, it is like so far I have like, because I work really in close contact with these guys, I have had ways to keep buying crypto, even like when it was under the ban, because like I knew the guys, so it was easy. But now, so right now the status quo is that we don't have any ban at the moment, like as we speak. I don't know about a couple of months. I hope it doesn't happen. But so right now you can use, so I won't want to take names, but there are at least half a dozen or more. Half a dozen or so exchanges here in India that let you complete your KYC. You got to give your PAN card and stuff like that, and you link your bank account, and just you transfer money into Paytm, something like that, like a wallet. You transfer INR and you can buy it as long as you pay taxes on it, and you kind of like do your capital gains and all that sorted. Ask your CA to file returns, and it should be like there's no problem. So I've been doing it since 2016. I've heard that people who face issues around it, but that's majorly the ones who've not paid their taxes, which you should never do in anything, right? So right now I use one of those exchanges that the thing with me is because I've worked with almost all of them, so I kind of like, it's not nice to take a name, but I stick to one of them that I've worked with, and so it's just to avoid conflict of interest. So I work the ones that I work with, I use their wallet itself, because I every month just buy, deposit XYZ amount of INR and just buy market buys, because it's an SIP. I don't care about the short-term price at the moment. So and just buy it, and just that's the process. So right now there's no auto debit available because the banking systems don't allow that. So APIs are not built for that. So you can't, like how you do in mutual funds, you do an auto debit. That's not possible right now in crypto, because that's just how the rules are. So you have to manually do it. So I set a reminder on my phone, Google reminder, whatever, and I just get reminded time to buy more Bitcoin this month, and it just flashes on my phone. I just open my app and just deposit money. It gets done in 5 minutes, and you buy it.
So do you stick to Bitcoin, or do you also do Ethereum and other kinds?
So I actually am also a full-time trader investor. So I bought my first stocks in 16 when I was like 16 years old, something like that. It wasn't legally allowed, so I bought, like I convinced my cousin to give me his account, PAN card, and stuff like that, and then gave him some money and did it. But ever since then, I'm investing in trading actively. I use technical analysis, something called price action, which is what I use to trade. So what I do really is that I invest only in Bitcoin right now. That is the monthly investments. But other than that, I actively trade. So whatever. So there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. Whichever is on the chart showing me, a setup that I like, and there are confirmations. There's a whole system around it. Once that is there, I'm really sorry. There's some issue on the line. Is this fine now?
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. So then. So just whatever is coming my way on the chart, and there are some certain algos, etc., that I use, and I just trade them. So I don't care about what the name of the currency is. I care about the chart that I see on the screen, and then I just trade based on that. So actively every month on month, I invest only in Bitcoin, and that's just my personal opinion. Some people do Bitcoin, Ethereum, both, and stuff like that. I personally
Balaji recently was asked. He said that if you had X amount of money, what do you do? He said half Bitcoin, half Ethereum.
Yeah. To be very honest, why I don't buy Ethereum, with all respect to Balaji, is that a lot of people say that, Bitcoin and Ethereum is sort of like diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? And probably Balaji, from the kind of brain that he has, he's not even thinking about this point that I'm about to make. But to be very honest, it doesn't seem like a very good diversification to me. So if you see the correlation, right, it's probably 85-90%. So to me, it doesn't seem like diversification at all, right? It's like the math doesn't add up. So in that case, if I'm going to buy two assets which are 90% correlated or 85%, I might as well just buy Bitcoin and not fool myself thinking I'm just diversifying. So I have some Ethereum from back in the day, which I bought in 2017.
Have you followed the NFTs? I think we lost Sumnesh because of some internet challenge. Hopefully, he'll be back with us soon. Okay, you're back. It seems like the
It
internet
was
went
the
off.
network, so I just switched to the network, right?
Okay,
So
great.
sorry. The thing I was saying is that to me, buying it monthly doesn't make like a lot of sense because, as I said, the numbers seem like they are showing asset correlation to be very high. So what I do is either I trade it. So if there's a breakout on Ethereum on my chart, then I will kind of like go ahead and buy it. And
Mm-hmm.
for trading purposes, which means futures contract or something like that. Or I have some Ethereums that that I bought back in the day, which I continue to kind of like hold for all these years. So that is that. So no, except Bitcoin, no long term holding. If you ask me how's my money in crypto, if you ask me about like allocation, I would say 95% or more is in Bitcoin. A
Mm-hmm.
couple of percent, 2% is in some altcoins, and a couple of percentages in Ethereum. So 2-3% is in Ethereum. That's how the 95%, the whole 100% is split. This is the investing capital. The trading capital is a different money that I use to kind of So there's the different stats. So this is long-term holding that I keep in like offline wallets, not on exchanges, just for safety purposes. And the remaining investing, the trading capital, is about like 50-50 divided into Bitcoin and a stable coin. So here, because you're trading across the globe, so you can't trade against like fiat pairs. So there are stable coins which are pegged to the US dollar 1:1, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I use them to trade. So instead of buying it with USD directly, you buy it with that stable coin. It's called a stable coin, which is just how USDT is. It's USD is. It's just 1:1 related to USD, right? It's a pegged kind of like a coin, and I use that to trade, and sometimes Bitcoin also. So you can trade other coins against Bitcoin too in Bitcoin pair, right? Just how you trade Bitcoin versus INR, you can trade Bitcoin versus other, say Ethereum. So there is a pair called Ethereum BTC, which means you can sell your Bitcoin to buy Ethereum directly instead of going Bitcoin to USD to Ethereum, right? So the trading capital is half divided into Bitcoin and a stable coin, which is just essentially US dollar. And the investing capital, I told you, 95% is Bitcoin. So that is
Okay, great.
how I invest. Yeah.
Have you been following the NFT markets? What's your perspective on that?
Um, I mean, yeah, I have been following them. To be very honest, there's just one advantage of working in an industry that's rapidly growing,
Hmm.
and you were curious about it, is that you
Hmm.
get to know trends way early. I mean, so I've been
Yeah.
hearing about this NFT as a concept since late 2018, early 2019. I mean, and I thought it was probably not going to be this big a market. So I did buy a couple of them, but I don't even know where are they right now.
Do you
So
want to create? Have you
so
created a few NFTs?
no, I haven't. I haven't created yet because those some of the NFT artists are really very good, like talented people. So I don't think I can make something which kind of like resembles anything like that. And I don't think this is just my personal opinion that except digital art, I don't think just creating an NFT out of a random tweet or something like that makes sense. For me, it's a way for people who were, so artists were finding it, except the top 1% or so, right? Artists were finding it really hard to monetize their creativity. NFT to me is a way for them to do that, right? And globally do that, like at scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, only digital art NFTs make sense.
Yeah.
So I've been hearing about them, as I said, for 2.5 years now, and they seem great. But right now, they seem like collectibles, or kind of like how Christie sells stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
you buy it, not like a fully blown like investment asset class. So I mean, people have been buying arts and the paintings and stuff for 100 years, but it's not like
Yeah.
it's not like a traded marketplace.
Yeah.
So to me it seems like that so far, but of course it's evolving really fast. There's another thing that's coming up in crypto that's called DAO. There's so it's a whole decentralized thing which is coming up. People are getting onto that train right now as we speak, but as I said, when you work somewhere, the advantage is that you get to hear about it a bit earlier. So I have heard about projects which are building around DAO for almost a year now. So I'm also
Nice.
researching about that. So
Mm.
NFTs are great because, as I said, it's saying that, boss, somebody who's in a very remote village in India but makes fabulous art can go ahead and at least get his stuff out. Whether the amount of money that he makes is a very different thing. I mean, that depends on market, demand and supply. But to be very honest, he did not have a discovery platform. Now these platforms that where you can list and mint NFTs just give you that without having to. So it's kind of like lowering the entry barrier for people to show up their art. That's why it's very important to me. I mean, personally. So that's what
Got
I
it.
think about NFTs. But I've not put
And
any money into that recently. That just
got it. Yeah.
yeah.
And have you been teaching about Bitcoins, it seems, cohort-based
Yeah.
courses or other ways? Tell us
Yeah.
about
So
that.
last year I did a very, I won't even, I don't, I mean, I don't think it was like a full blown cohort based course, CBCs that are very popular on Twitter and on social media these days. It was just a kind of an experiment. So I was like, the pandemic has stuck. People are like held up in their houses. Probably some of them will have some free time, and a lot of people were getting into share markets and trading and investing, right? Because they had free time, plus needed, some of them needed some extra source of income. Maybe they've lost their jobs or whatever, right? So it's like probably some people would be interested in crypto trading and crypto, investing and stuff. So what I really did was, I was part of a small community in Telegram, and where we had been kind of like, since the last bull run in 2017, we were just kind of like interacting there. I was not very active. I just kind of like shared my views now and then. And I just
Hmm.
asked, would you guys sign up for a program if I did it? Like it would be just across 5 or 6 evenings, where just 5 or 6, like so 12 hours of content or something like that. And like a very shorter, like it's not very long form. It's like 10, 12 hours of content. And I'll share live examples and we'll trade, and I'll show you charts, and all of it was basically very driven about charts, and I was like, I didn't think you could teach trading or investing without doing it, right? I mean, you can just make as many slides and keep blabbering about it, but unless you show it to people, I don't think they'll learn. So I was like, let me focus on the charts and let me talk about that mainly. So I did it. So I thought probably 2, 3 people will sign up. Turns out we had to like go to the second, like, so I did it in 2 cohorts because like I couldn't fit in one.
Hmm.
And so there were, I think, but I made sure I don't go beyond 10 people, because like I will not be able to, anyways it is packed into say 15, 20 days, and like with breaks in between 5, 6 sessions, it's anyways going to be very hectic. Let me not just have too many people, because for me this was just an experiment. I didn't want to make any money out of this. I probably didn't make any money out of this. I don't know, I mean, we didn't check, because I think all the money that I made was into like used up into like hosting services and all that stuff, right? So website and all that. So yeah, so I mean, if you ask me, to be very honest, it was a very wonderful experience, because I never thought I could ever teach people. Because I was like, dude, I am just, back then I was just 21. So
What were you
it's a,
teaching? Tell us about the curriculum first.
So, the first session was around introduction around, if you've never heard about any of all that, like, just what is crypto, what is Bitcoin, like how that works, what is this thing called exchange, right? So just a basic where we talked about what crypto is, what are exchanges, how can you participate. So you can be an investor, you can be a trader, you can be an arbitrager, stuff like that, right? So that was there. The second was the second session was about an introduction to charts, wherein we discussed how they look like, and what do you need to know about them, what are trends, why should you stick to a trend or not stick to a trend, so if the prices are going up, how do you identify it's an uptrend and not just a fake, like a system movement, pump and dump, like how do you avoid that, basics about how charts work and how what are all the indicators available and stuff like that. I don't use them, but I just made sure that I should not be partial. I should at least mention them once. So all that. So that the second session was around trend analysis, which is how you identify the trend, how the markets move. How do you know what is the broader direction of the coin that you're willing to trade, and then how do you decide when you should take entry and stuff. The third session was probably the most kind of like a meaty one, where we discussed about how I trade. So I use a technique called price action in technical. So there's a method of trading called technical analysis, which uses data and all that to trade, and charts and stuff. And out of that, I use, like, within technical analysis, there are lots of methods. Like particular whichever one you prefer or whichever suits you. To be very honest, none of them is good or bad. It's just a personal preference, what suits you, right? What lets you sleep at night peacefully. So for me, it's price action, which is, so I was like, I will not go ahead and tell you about everything else. I'll just briefly mention. I will not claim to be an expert about all of that. I'll just tell you what I do, and I'll just teach whatever I use, because if I've not used everything else, or if I didn't like anything else, there's no point trying to put say 15 methods into a 2-hour session, right? I would rather go deep into my own method for an hour or two, right? Whatever. So that is a session around price action, as to how do you really do what I do, basically, on the chart. A lot of supports and resistance, supply demand zones, a lot of technical stuff, basically. The next session was about something called risk management and trading psychology. This was the session I was the most kind of anxious about, and also thought that was the most important one, because, to be very honest, I think most people can be good traders if they just have a bit of a discipline. So risk management, it's not a very, you don't need to be a very smart person to trade. You need to be a very kind of like emotionally balanced person to be a good trader, in my opinion, not a very smart person. So I was like, let me just try and teach concepts around position sizing, how much leverage you should take, how do you diversify, and all that, right? So and how do you, so if you're a trader, how do you diversify? If you're an investor, how do you diversify? There are two very different methods, by the way, to do that. And then I did all of that, and the trading psychology bit was about a very honest take on how the industry operates. So I said, dude, look at this. Markets are meant for institutions, right, to play. When, say, even in stock markets, when the markets open at 9:15, all right, retail players make 5 to 7% of the total money in the market that gets traded every day. More than 90% is institutions, right? So institutions like banks, investment banks, hedge funds, and stuff like that. So whenever they are entering the market, right, we all think, that there's that market came and took my money away. You need to realize that they don't trade for you. For you, like, I mean, think about it this way, right? So the markets are like 95% of the money is by institutions. Now, if the institutions are trading for a 10,000 crore position, right, and you have a 2 lakh rupee position, they don't even care about your position, right, at this point. So the institutions are taking money from each other's pocket. So it's like a battle happening, and you just die in crossfire. So all of us as retail traders just die in crossfire. The battle is not even meant for us. They don't even care that we exist, right? So this thing we don't understand. When we are trading, we think we are the most important person in the market, which is not the case at all. right? And as soon as you realize that, you will realize that, dude, I don't need to play the game to kill the elephant. I just need to ride the elephant's back, the winning elephant's back, and he will do the other job, right? He will kill the
Mhm.
opposing elephant, right? So you don't need to be the elephant. You just need to know how to ride it. That's the game as a retail trader, right? So I try to. So this is just a very brief. I just try to drill it into people's brain that don't try to kind of like mess around too much. Just know that how the psychology works at those, because I also work with a couple of AMCs back in college only as an intern. So I worked with one of the biggest AMCs, which is in MNC based out of America. They manage over $1 trillion in assets. So I was in the advisory team there. So I saw the guys going onto the floor in the trading bench and trading every day. And I realized that as a trader, I evolved so much in those 2-3 months. I was like, if I can just take that psychology bit from my experience there and share it with these guys over a hour-long session, then that will help. So the fourth session was about risk management and psychology, and the last one was about market research. So when understood, how to take entry, where to place stop loss, which kind of like how much money to take, how much leverage to take, which exchange to use. But how do you
Mhm.
spot opportunities? How do you?
Yeah.
So there are, say, 10,000 cryptocurrencies trading. Which is the one I should be trading? Like, how do I find that one which is going to move? So how do you find? So there are filters to it. So you have volume filters, you have price filters, a lot of things, right? So that was about market research as to, if I sit tomorrow morning, how do I identify the coin that I'm supposed to trade or asset that I'm supposed
Mhm.
to trade in next, say, a week or a month. So every month or every week, every Sunday, I sit down and I filter out a list of assets that I'm willing to trade for this week, which seem to be, poised for a movement on either of the sides, long or short, like upward or downward movement. And I make a list and I stick to that because I, uh, have a thing that, if as long as you're disciplined, some or the other asset will give you money. You just don't be too greedy about it, right? So trader, I mean, it seems that trading is a game of how much money you make, but to be very honest, in my opinion, trading is a game of how less money are you willing to lose, right? And being conservative is probably a very important trait, which is very contradictory to how you think about trading, right? Because a lot of people
Mhm.
think trading is about making more money than investing, which is not true in my opinion, right? So I stick to that. Of course, there are certain errors that I've placed. So there's an abnormal movement, like something which goes very absurdly. Then my system kind of picks it up, and I add on that coin to, or the asset to, that list of watch list kind of candidates. So that's how I do
Mhm.
it. So just that process of how I do it every Sunday, I just shared that on in an hour long session. So to be very honest, it was just 10, 12 hours of kind of like discussion, just like we are having right now. But it had
Mhm.
charts and it had like examples and live. I took a couple of trades live with those guys and stuff like that. And it was a good experiment to have. So a lot of people keep asking if you'll do a third session or something, third cohort or something. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, I mean, whenever if people ask, let's see how it goes. But across two cohorts, I think we had around 10 people in the first one. I think 15 odd in the second one. That's about it. I mean, so 25 odd people. I think, I
Yeah.
hope, I hope they would be doing better in their financial journey because of that. So that was how it's so kind of like an experiment. But I realized how much people were willing to learn if you taught them the right way, or I so hope it was the right way. I mean,
Mhm.
I really, so initially when I started doing it, I was like, dude, it is going to be very dry. It's very technical. And it's probably going to be very tough to convince people to sit through 2 hours of my blabbering.
Mhm.
But that was not the case. If you just make sure that people, teach them in the way they can understand. I had people who were, civil engineers and stuff. They were on their side for 8-10 hours in very, under the sun, and they had a long day and they sat through, because we did it in evenings just so that it is convenient to everybody. So I had people from 3 time zones. So like it was like we have to keep it in the evening so that everybody is free basically. And
Mhm.
around this time, that is right now that we're talking, and those guys stayed up till 1 in the morning and listened to me. Although I said that if you just too tired, just fine. I mean, I'll send a recording or something like that, in just in case. But they kind of like stayed, and I was like, damn, dude, this is crazy. So yeah, I would not stay up till 1 in the morning to listen to myself. Why are you doing it? Like, I mean, that was the thing. So it was very interesting. I I think I also um, got to learn a couple of new things about like how I approach my own trading and investing style through this. So it was just that. But and then because I did that, a couple of people noticed and they wanted to work. So now we also do. So for the couple of brands that I work with, I told you, crypto startups and stuff like that. I also do these what do you call educational content or pieces around. So they can be articles or YouTube lives like this one, where we discuss price charts, we discuss what are the upcoming trends in the market every week or every month or whatever. So it's like a session on that brand's YouTube channel or their brand's website, and I just host a session. So kind of like a moderator of sorts, where I kind of like host the session. We discuss. I share my charts. We take people's queries and Q&A and stuff like that. So YouTube lives and articles and audio, these clubhouse events or whatever, Twitter space and stuff like that. So instead of I thought if I kind of like do it myself, probably I will not be able to help as many people. So I thought, why not associate with brands who already have that audience, and
Mm-hmm.
that will also make me, for me, working with startups is about meeting really smart people. I mean, I can't even tell you how much I've learned in the past 1 year, just because I've worked with startups where people were way more smarter than I am, right? I was like, if I work with a brand, get to work with such people first, and secondly, they already have an audience, so I don't need to make it myself, right? So like, I mean, a lot of people tell me, why don't you do this yourself independently? So kind of like a, what do you call, influencer or whatever. I was like, I'm not very fond of that idea. I would rather work with a brand, see if I can help their customers, in turn get to
Mm-hmm.
work with them, and hopefully reach out a bigger audience. So that is the idea. So now after that CBC, I switched to doing this, and I really enjoy doing this. So that's that.
That's amazing. Well, CBCs are a powerful idea. I myself have invested in a company that propels CBCs. I think it's phenomenal what you're doing. I wish you the very best, and may cryptos continue to flourish with the bright people using it in all walks of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in my opinion, we've not had a bigger shift in how people are thinking about uh, future of finance or fintech in like past several decades, which is bigger than crypto. So I mean, this is probably the biggest shift of how we approach fintech. I'm not even
Yeah.
claiming it is the biggest kind of like innovation that we'll see into the future, right? I mean, in hindsight, you realize, dude, this was such a crazy idea. So we've not reached that hindsight phase yet. It's just 10, 11 years since Bitcoin was launched. But I think the way we approach how we think about fintech's future has massively shifted, and like our approach has changed. So I mean, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Sumnesh. Great to have you with us, and keep running CBCs and keep doing what you do. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, man.